one weekend, any driver can go from nothing to something.
Daniel Everhart winning the Podium Esports Daytona 500.
And something to nothing.
Oh, contact! Justice gets turned in front of the field. Derek Justice gets...
In an instant. Register now at podiumesports.com. The Podium 500 is back for 2021. One of the largest super speedway events in all of iRacing, one of the largest independent special events in all of iRacing. Over 175 drivers have competed throughout the weekend in the past 2 seasons, and next year's Podium 500 stands to be no different. However, as per the case here in these first few years of this big event, there are a few changes to the format from the previous 2 seasons, and the biggest one comes on Thursday night, February 4th. We add a preliminary race for drivers who hold a Class D safety rating on ovals or lower, or a 1500 I rating on ovals or lower. All of those drivers will go to the preliminary race, which will be broadcast live on twitch.tv/Podium Esports at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday, February 4th. 100 laps in the night at the World Center of Racing, and the top 8 finishers from that race will move on and be eligible for Podium 500 time trials, which will occupy Friday night as per usual. Now, if you register with either a Class C safety rating or 1500 I rating or above, you're fine. You don't have to worry about Thursday. You'll immediately be eligible for time trials, and those numbers are taken from the moment that you register. So if you're below Class C or 1500, go run some official oval races and get that bumped up so you don't have to worry about Thursday night. But for everybody else, Friday time trials is the same deal as it's been. You drop in for 5 minutes, anywhere from 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, February 5th in the evening. Join any of the servers that will be open at that time. Set a qualifying time. Drop in, drop out, jump in, jump out, and wait and see what happens, because at the end of the evening, Podium Esports will collate all of the times across all of the servers, and the top 2 drivers from time trials will automatically lock themselves into the Podium 500 on Sunday. They get to skip the gauntlet that is qualifying day. Everybody else will be snaked into one of 8 heat races, and that's where we'll begin the program on Saturday, February 6th, qualifying day, one of the busiest days of the year here at Podium Esports, and one of the closest days I think that sim racing ever gets to an NCAA tournament-style field, because it is wall-to-wall action all day long. 8 heats, 2 last chance qualifiers, and 2 dual races to whittle down the presumably over 175 entries to the final 43 that will make the show. From the heats, the top 8 drivers who finish 1 through 8 in each of their heats will automatically qualify to the duels. Anybody finishing 9th to 18th will go to one of the last chance qualifiers. From the 2 last chance qualifiers, we'll take the top 8 finishers from each, and it will finish off 40-car grids for each of the 2 dual races, from which we will take the top 18 drivers from those duels who are not already locked into the show, which will give us 2 drivers who lock themselves in via time trials, 36 that will come from the duels, and then 5 provisionals that will come from events that Podium Esports has held in the last year. The 2 previous Daytona 500, Podium 500 champions, rather. Seth the Merchant and Daniel Everhart will be guaranteed a spot in the show on Sunday, as will the champions of the 2020 Cars Esports Tour, Matt Gucker and Ryan Matthews, and the first in Flight 400 champion, Michael Frisch, from back in June. Those 5 are automatically locked into the 500 if they so choose, and we will be left with a 43-car field that will take the green flag just after 1 p.m. on Sunday, February 7th. 200 laps, 500 miles, 43 cars, 9 sets of tires will mirror the tire limits that you see in the real-life Great American Race, and $1,000 to the winner, with every driver who makes the feature race guaranteed their money. A lot to process. It's one of the biggest weekends in sim racing, Justin Princeton, and now in its 3rd year, it is a tremendous event that everybody marks down on their calendars. It's a huge way to kick off the Speed Week season.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a reason many drivers across the service consider it one of the biggest events, if not the biggest event in all of iRacing, because of the difficulty to make their way into the field, as well as the intensity of said field. There were plenty of chills and spills last year where it's expected to be a difficult field to get in, especially for the qualifying day and the time trials, to make sure you have a spot in. There's a reason it's considered a staple. And we've seen some plenty big names all battle for positions as a result, James, in the past couple of years.
There were 10 drivers who competed in the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series who competed in Sunday's show. In the Podium 500 a year ago, there were a few drivers who competed in the Coke Series who did not make it through qualifying day, which tells you anything. But, Blake, this is plate racing, and there is a bit of an any given Sunday feel to any plate race that you go into. And there are very few spots in the sim and in iRacing where you can take a Coke Series driver and you can take someone who just came into the sim with a 1500 I rating and a rookie safety rating and have a place where they can all come together and compete, and have a place where the little folks sometimes can get one of the big guys. And even though Coke Series drivers have done well in the Podium 500 the past 2 seasons, we've had Coke drivers finish runner-up in the first 2 iterations of the event. It's been drivers outside of the Coke Series that have gone to victory lane. So it's really anyone's shot at the end of the day.
It really is. And of course, if you look out at the field, you're going to see big names, obviously a lot of Coke Series drivers that are a part of the field and are generally going to run up front, but you still can have those little scenarios like you mentioned where some of these smaller drivers, names that we don't know as well, they have that same opportunity to compete, to run up front. Obviously, there is a skill to super speedway racing. There's no doubt about it, but we still have that ability at the World Center of Racing to have that type of event where obviously we wouldn't be surprised if we had a Coke Series driver end up winning the 2021 Podium 500. But of course, that possibility always remains that we could have an unknown that also takes the top spot.
There are so many great stories that come out of Podium 500 weekends, unknowns that survive qualifying day and make it, big names that will try and claim the mantle. The defending Coke Series champion was one of the runner-up finishers last year. Nick Ottinger was there, Jacob Seelman, and it's just a tremendous event for everybody across the board.
It really is, and we're getting ready in just a minute to bring in one of the drivers who competed in this past year's Podium 500. That was really one of the stories. I feel like we followed a lot of the race. You see him on the outside lane there in Briar LaPrade, who we'll talk to momentarily. But no, I like what Blake said. This is where you can be a nobody and make your name, or you can already have your name made on this service and have a chance to go out and really put a gold star next to it. It's anybody's race. I think this year it could be the most wide open we've seen it in the 3 editions. I'm really looking forward to it.
Always one of the big events that folks in the sim live for. And we're now joined by Manchester, Tennessee's Briar LaPrade. And Briar, for someone who has been through this gauntlet and made it into the big show, can you just explain to everybody at home what it means just to make the field on Sunday?
Yeah, being able to make the field for the Podium 500 is honestly something that you should feel accomplished about, because the names that you see register for this race and make the main event, they're just honestly big names that you want to race against. Personally, I've never locked in just based on qualifying, but I've had to go through those duels, and the stress does get to me, but you just gotta work through it calmly and make sure you lock in, finishing I think top 18 for that. But it's always a great time. I enjoy my time doing these kind of events, and especially this one, because this one to me personally just kicks off this racing season in a really fun way.
As a driver, do you get a sense of just how big it is when you get to Saturday and you see all the names that are on that list? What's the feeling like to be part of an event that is so huge and is rivaled by few across the service?
Yeah, honestly, just the feelings I get personally, just seeing the names and everyone that I'm going up against. The day before, I'm just thinking, like what could possibly come out of this? Sometimes you just sit there and get nervous just thinking about all the crazy things that could happen. But eventually, when it comes to race time, it's time to strap in and just, get ready to go and do what you got to do out there and do the best you can. It's plate racing, anything can happen, but you just got to do the best of what you have.
And for those who haven't entered the Podium 500 in past seasons, or might be on the fence, might not necessarily know what to expect, why should drivers enter this special event in particular? Why should they compete in the Podium 500 next February?
Well, like you guys were saying earlier, if you're looking to kind of get your name out there, I feel like this is a great event to sort of kickstart all that and get it going. It's fixed setup, so you don't have any setup worries. You get some friends together if you need to, work together. It's plate racing. You know, you're gonna have a couple of friend groups and teams, all that working together, and it just like we said earlier, just getting into that main event and seeing all those big names. And if you make that field, you should feel accomplished because you're in the main event. You know, you've made it. You know, it's just a awesome feeling.
Briar, thanks so much for the time, and we look forward to seeing you next February as you try and make your way into the field once more.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Can't wait.
And speaking of getting your name in the hat for February, registration is now live on the Podium Esports website. You can head to podiumesports.com/podium-500 to register for the great virtual race, the third annual edition coming up this February 7th, 2021. $10 is all it takes to get your name in the hat. So go head on over to the Podium website. The full rule book is there. Schedules are there. The registration forms are there. Everything you need to get yourself acquainted with Podium 500 event happenings. All right on the website, all in one place. PodiumEsports.com.